OMG. Hi, hello, how are you? My name is Gael. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my first YouTube video ever. I don't know, I'm just nervous. Like, I've grown up watching people make content on YouTube and do their thing. So now to finally be at this space where I'm here doing that, it's just crazy. Oh yeah. Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy 2026. I hope everyone has a wonderful, blessed 2026 and success, prosperity, blessings, all that stuff. I don't really remember how I created the look that I'm about to create, but essentially what I'm doing, I went on a cruise. I went on my first cruise ever over the holidays, and I created this kind of white smoky eye type of thing. I'm just gonna try to recreate that today. I'm using the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. For my eyebrows today, I'm using the Juvia's Place Luxe Liner in Cocoa Latte. This is technically a lip liner, however, I use it for my eyebrows because I can. Brows are done. I did go ahead and apply some loose powder on top of my natural brows before I applied the liner, just to kind of reduce some of that shine that comes with the pencil, and also just to kind of, help add a little pigment and make it stick a bit better. I think what I want to do is just clean up under the brow a little bit first. I'm going to be using my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Tan Neutral. Also, one thing about me, I use my hands and my arms a lot when I'm doing makeup rather than being a normal person and just getting a palette to put all my products onto. I don't know, when I'm doing my own makeup, I just put everything on my hands. My hands are clean though. Not that it matters to y'all anyway. I'm new, y'all. I'm sorry. I feel like this brush is too big, but my other brush fell and I don't want to put it on my face, so this is what we got for now. Also dragging it down a bit just to kind of help even out my lids as well, and sort of to act as a base or a primer, a faux primer for the eyeshadows I'm going to be using later on. I like a thinner brow on myself personally, even though my brows are naturally kind of thin anyway. Honestly, if I could do if I could find someone who would achieve that perfect 90s thin brow for me every time, I would love them forever. Just kind of bringing it up into the center point between my brows as well, just to use some of that excess product. The cruise was nice. We visited 3 locations: Nassau, Bahamas. We went to Amber Cove in DR, and then finally we went to Turks and Caicos, which was beautiful. That was my favorite, honestly, destination in the trip, and I really, really, really want to try and go back. For eyeshadow, I'm going to be using the shade Snow from You Can Be. It's like a pure, just white color. I got them off Amazon for $5, $6, just to make sure that the base is super, I guess, as light as I can make it to kind of help bring out that white pigment. I'm going to be using the white concealer from LA Girls Pro Conceals. And the one thing I will say from experience, make sure that you really, number one, don't apply too much of the concealer. Use enough to where you can see it, but also make sure that it's a thin layer to help it dry. And number two, make sure it's really dry before you start trying to apply any of the powder eyeshadow, because it's just going to get really messy and ugly very fast. Just following the lines of my crease. Okay, I think my base is good now. I'm just gonna soften those edges a little bit. Just gonna take a fan and I'm gonna dry the concealer to make sure it's really dried down before I apply any of the powder eyeshadow. Don't be afraid to kind of let those lines and creases appear if they do. That's another reason why I say to use a thin layer, is just because you want to kind of minimize the amount of like lines and product buildup and creases that you see in your eyeshadow. But of course, naturally, some people just have like lots of folds in their eyelids, and that's okay. Once we're finished drying it with the fan, I'm gonna go in and go back over it with my brush and just kind of like blend out some of those lines and creases as much as I can to make a smoother base. Blending up into the brow just for a seamless kind of blend. Okay, now I'm just going to go in with my You Can Be shadow where I applied the white concealer before. So really just in kind of that inner crease. Pack it on because you want it to be as white as possible, but also to really just take your time. Take your time with this. So me and my friend, I think we had a mini suite. The room was actually a lot larger than I thought it was going to be. I don't know, I was expecting like the rooms to be like this small. But it was actually pretty spacious. There's a lot of room. We weren't necessarily on top of each other. Had a balcony as well overlooking the ocean. It was really nice. And like the bathroom was like kind of nice too. Like we actually had like a tub and shower and stuff that had a lot of space. And from my friend's experiences, she's told me that like on other cruises that she's been on, there was like no space at all in the bathroom. So I am very happy that I did not have to experience that. We also had a premium drink package, which allowed us to have like 15 drinks a day. Now, I don't know if the average person could get through 15 alcoholic drinks a day, but it was part of the package. And it also included Wi-Fi as well, which was really cool because I was expecting to kind of like have to pay for both separately. So I was surprised at actually how like affordable this cruise was. I think the drinks overall were pretty good. It obviously, you know, depends on who's making it and what bar and all that, but I think it's pretty normal. Kind of like bringing that into the arch of my brow as well. I think that's enough of the white eyeshadow for now. I'm gonna put this away. It's so pretty. I can't. I'm such a makeup like junkie, y'all. Probably should have cleaned my brushes to start off the new year, but I literally just cleaned them like... Actually, I'm not gonna tell y'all when I clean them. Okay, I'm going to go in with my Tarte Maneater palette with the shade Alluring. It's like a deep brown with hints of red to it. It's beautiful. Kind of reminds me of like clay and like the desert. Food I feel like was pretty decent. They had a lot of they had a good amount, I would say, of dining options. It's just that a lot of them were kind of like limited depending on your package. You would have to like pay for it as an additional thing, and you weren't trying to do that. So for the food that we could get that was included with our package, it was pretty good. It was all right. What I think stood out to me was the sushi at Ocean Terrace. I'm not really much of a sushi person, but like it was actually really good. It's like, the one thing I will say, it's kind of limited in terms of how many tempura options there are. And by limited, I mean there were like no tempura options available, at least not for what's included with the premium package. However, we asked for our sushi to be like kind of slightly cooked, so basically they kind of like browned it on top a little bit, and I think it really added to the texture of the overall dish, and I thought it was pretty good. The dining hall, I feel like it was good, but after a while, you're on a boat for so long, you kind of get tired of dining hall food, so you just kind of want to like switch it up. They also had room service. I'm just blending in the brown shade Alluring into Snow that's in my inner corner. But yeah, I like that room service could kind of like come to you anywhere, but like in general, it was just kind of like hit or miss for me just because like all the foods that they had that were available for our package that were complimentary just wasn't the best. It's kind of like basic, like, oh, fries, a Caesar salad, but no chicken, like things like that. I think I'm gonna switch brushes. Yeah, I'm switching brushes. I feel like it'll just be so much easier to blend with this one. Yeah, and like honestly, like sometimes like the room service would say on the app, because like you could kind of like control your orders through the Princess app, like control your orders. They had the ship schedule on there, everything like that. That I liked. I feel like that was efficient. However, they would lie and be like, oh yeah, like your food is delivered, and it's not delivered. It didn't get to you. So then you have to like call downstairs to the guest services and then have them like kind of track down your food or whatever and bring it to you. So like I feel like and like that happened like half of the time too, which was like a bit not really like just it's not, it wasn't a damper on the whole cruise itself, but it was just kind of like you know, but that wouldn't stop me from like going on a princess cruise again. It was just kind of like a for consideration. So for foundation, I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter in the shade Deep Rich underneath, and then I'm going to go over top of it with the NYX Buttermelt Glaze in the shade number 8. Okay, usually I like to go over my face with setting spray before I apply foundation. I forgot to do that. So I am just going to spray onto my foundation brush instead. The big thing I think for me, honestly, was really the entertainment. I was prepared to kind of like, you know, let loose, have a good time, not go like too crazy, y'all. I'm not like a party animal, but you know, have a good time. But I feel like this cruise didn't really cater to all audiences. Like, you know, like they tried, like they had a club that was after hours, but the DJ didn't really, again, like cater to all audiences. They didn't really kind of have the best music, in my opinion. I think the highlight of the cruise entertainment wise was definitely karaoke. They had karaoke like every night, literally just drinking and listening to bad singers or good singers. Yeah, that was the highlight for me. But yeah, entertainment wise, I feel like they really could have done better as far as catering to all cultures and backgrounds. Also catering to younger people as well. I feel like they were either super family friendly or really only just like played stuff that was for like an older crowd. So I think overall, I would probably, considering it was my first cruise, I had a good time. I think I would rate it a solid 7. I would say it was a 7. I had a good time. I would do it again, but you know, there's always room for improvement. But overall, I had fun. For contour, I'm going to be using e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Rich Ebony. Before, I sprayed with my Makeup Revolution Superfix Ultra Glow Illuminating Fixing Mist for my foundation, and every other step in between, I'm going to be using the Makeup Revolution Glow Fix Fixing Spray. While that dries, I should have applied concealer under my eyes. I forgot to do it, so I'm just gonna do that now. I'm going to go underneath first with e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Rich Chocolate, and then I'm going to go over top with Tan Neutral to highlight. On my nose, and I'm going to apply this once I finish blending out what's underneath my eyes first. I feel like, honestly, I love how I do my makeup, but I feel like my contour looks so, like, on myself anyways. Like, when I do it for other people, it's fine, but on myself, I feel like my contour always looks so dramatic, and sometimes I love it, or most of the time I love it, but other times I'm just like, dang, like, do I give off drag queen? I don't know. I'm just following the natural angles of my cheekbones. Of course, I did my forehead earlier. Just bringing that down my neck a little bit. I'm just going to blend my concealer around my face. Okay, just gonna do the bridge of my nose. And just adding a bit of the excess product from my nose bridge to the tip of my nose to create kind of like a, I don't do like a true button effect. That's not really my style, but like just a slight button, I suppose. And now I'm going to go over top with tan neutral underneath my eyes to really highlight. Okay. To speed up the process, I'm just gonna use my fan to dry up the concealer. Okay, now I'm gonna blend. I forget which exact blush I used. I think it was the About Face Beauty liquid blushes in the shades Jumpstart and Frontrunner, I think. But we're just gonna go with it. Use a pinky-ish type blush, essentially. This is Jumpstart. It goes on purple, but it kind of, once you blend it in with Frontrunner, it gives more of like a pinkish hue. Setting spray again. Just kind of keeping it close to the tops of my cheekbones and also blending it in to my contour. Blending it into the edges of my under eye concealer as well. And bringing it a bit into my forehead, learned that from Jackie. Now it's time for powder. I'm just going to do one final spritz and then I'm going to start applying my setting powders. For my highlight, I'm going to be using the Black Radiance Loose Powder in the shade Banana. I'm going to go underneath with this sponge sort of thing first, very lightly, and then I'm going to use the brush over top, not really to bake, but really just to kind of, I don't know, like reinforce the powder. You see, very lightly, like barely putting anything on with the sponge. And then I'm going to take my brush. I love the Real Techniques setting brush, number 402. And then I just use that to like really, just still like, again, like not even really trying to bake, just like pressing it in very lightly. And then with the brush, I'm going over some of the other areas that I highlighted as well. We're not done with this yet. We're gonna come back to this. For bronzer, I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear in the shade 550 Deep Dark. Kind of lightly. I'm also just going to take a tiny like shading type of brush. Not putting too much product on, but I'm just going to kind of bronze my nose a bit. I don't like to go over with contour, like liquid contour and bronzer like how I did for the other areas of my face. For my nose, I kind of just like to leave it as it is, really, and just kind of like enhance my features. Yeah, really just kind of bringing definition to my natural nose bridge. And of course we have the highlight there. Going back to our setting powder, now underneath where I did my cheek bronzer, I'm just going to very lightly kind of like dust to kind of accentuate that cheek bronzer a bit more, that cheek definition a bit more, but you know, not going too crazy. I'm using the Chanel Universal Powder in the shade 121. Don't pick up too much product really, just use just enough to cover the brush, tap away the excess, and then we're going to blend. We're not really blend, just kind of like dust over top of the areas of our face that like have a lot of different shades. That way it could kind of like blend and be smooth. Okay, now I'm going to kind of really complete the eye makeup look. I'm going in my waterline with the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Milk. Don't be afraid to use more than one layer of this too, to really make sure that that pigment is there and that it comes out like a stark white. And now I'm going to be using a black pencil on, like, I don't know the correct term for this, but like not the bottom waterline, but the top. I'm just going to go in like there. I don't think I did this in the original look, but I feel like it would add a really nice effect to it. Okay, now I'm just going to be using this white mascara I got off Amazon from this brand called May Dear. Be careful with this product. It's kind of, honestly, it reminds me of glue, like Elmer's glue. Works well to add that color, but just be careful. And now I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Paris Panorama Mascara on my top lash line. I feel like I am missing a step in the eyeshadow look. I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna go back to my pictures for reference. Either way, it's all right. The general gist is the same. So we push forward. I want to go underneath a little bit with some more setting powder. Brighten a bit and kind of bring it more to the edge. Now I'm going to go in with powder blush. Please ignore how dirty and messed up this palette is. I'm using the Makeup Revolution Roxy palette. I think I'm going to just keep it really pink. I'm going to use this and this today. I don't know the exact one that I use, but they're all kind of a similar palette. So if you end up using, I mean, similar vibe. So just really just kind of play around and see what works for you. But the end payoff should really be more like a pink vibe. I think I was such in a rush that day that I didn't even apply highlight to my nose, which is crazy because I love highlight. And in fact, I probably overdo it on highlight compared to most people. So yeah, today we're applying highlight. My favorite one is the Juvia's Place loose highlighter in the shade Nubia. Okay, the lip combo is fairly simple. I'm using the About Face Beauty Fix Lip Matte Pencil in the shade Smoked. Now I'm going to be using the About Face Beauty Light Lock Lip Gloss in the shade Play Hooky, but just only to like line where we put Smoked before. Finally, I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Glow Reviver Melting Lip Balm in the shade Vanilla Toffee, just in the center. Okay, I went ahead and did my lashes off camera. I'm just gonna do a final spritz with my Makeup Revolution Super Fix Ultra Glow Illuminating Fixing Mist. Okay, here's the final look. I honestly just ended up creating a softer version of the original look. If you want to copy it exactly how I did it in the photos and videos I shared previously, just make sure that you, number one, use a bolder lash. Number two, I remembered what I forgot earlier, which is that I went over with a kind of like thick eyeliner right in the corner, not necessarily to drag it here to make a cat eye, but more so just to like kind of make it more dramatic and add that thickness here. I stopped like halfway. It's like where my pupils are. Other than that, the look is pretty much the same thing. But yeah, I just did a softer version. Honestly, I really love it. I think it's cute. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming with me on this journey. And I hope you come back. Okay, bye.